Yeah. Yeah, well, the thing about, I have a, there's actually quite a few critics that I know and I'm friends with. There's one critic is one of my best friends. I love film critics as ones I don't love. I mean, I love film critics and I love the profession of film criticism. I mean, basically, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be a film critic. And I even write film criticism myself, but I don't publish it for my own edification. And maybe one day I'll put a book like it, not done. But and that's probably what I intend to do when I retire, is write film. I'll write film and stuff like that. But my relationship with the critics after 17 years is it's pretty clear. I mean, I'm a very definitive voice, and so critics either like me or they don't like me. And there's an aspect about it. If you're a film critic during this time, I've been making movies for 17 years. If you're a film critic during this time, then actually how you feel about me is going to kind of define you, because you can't ignore me. I'm here. And if you like me, then you'll be one of the ones that like me, and that becomes part of your aesthetic, and that becomes part of your thing. If you don't like me, then you're defined by that. He doesn't like Tarantino, and that tells you what his aesthetic is coming from. I just can't be ignored. Now, having said that, though, so I expect some really good reviews in some cases, and I always know I'm going to get some bad reviews in some places. And I read them all, because I always find it interesting. I've found food for thought. As a matter of fact, I remember in 1995, when I came out with Pulp Fiction, a film critic wrote something to the effect that Tarantino will never be a master of suspense because he's too in love with minutia. And I actually thought that was a fair enough statement back then. But in this movie, I actually go for big suspense moments. The scene in the tavern, the opening scene. And so I did have that guy in mind when I was thinking about that. That was actually a fair criticism. Okay, so if I am going to go for suspense, how do I do it? So it made me work out my own method on it. But I'm a big fan of film criticism. I just think it's really sad how all the good critics are losing the newspapers and it's all moving over to the internet. Because I don't really like reading film criticism on the internet. I like it in magazines.